we say it different in Iowa where ranch is not white trash.
Ranch is ketchup.
Also, it was like 2 years ago that I realized that ketchup was white trash.
Ketchup is sugar, by the way. Ketchup
It might
is
be
sugar,
trash.
as it turns out. Just sugar
Let
with
me
tomato.
introduce
You're
you to
like
my
just
family.
busting
I
everything.
know, sorry.
The Iowa family?
Yeah. Like they think that ketchup is a vegetable.
Yeah.
Like eating it in your like lycopene.
In some school districts it is.
Right.
Like
Well,
in
French fries are
Franklin,
vegetables
yes.
too.
French fries and
Well,
pizza is a
duh.
vegetable because of the tomato sauce. Like they can count it as
What?
vegetables. And that's it, yes.
That's awful.
That's incredible. I mean, not for
I
kids,
mean, not for kids.
but
Guys ready?
Oh, it is.
for big
Nice
kids.
showtime,
Straight
baby.
up.
Here we go. Well, hopefully we'll get some more people. We did have a good turnout the other day though, but thank
Can't
you,
wait to call them out
LI.
as they walk in at 9:03.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we call them out hard. Well, today we want to go over elevating the job experience. So job fairs are a large part of the recruiting cycle and something that we ask people to do, engage in.
Hi Emily, nice to see you.
Emily, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's 9 a.m. on the dot, thank you.
And it's also a good opportunity for us to cover some new branding material that the marketing team has rolled out recently. And also to talk about job fairs in action, and we'll have Zach come up and tell us a little bit more about community workforce programs and how they will manifest themselves into job fairs and mock interviews. So, without further ado.
What are the goals for today's class, Deborah?
That's a great question, Ryan. We really want you to walk away from this class knowing how to execute a successful job fair presentation. So beyond just standing behind a booth and waiting for people to come to you, we want you to be able to put up a really compelling presentation with our materials in order to better engage with job seekers, have a really strong presence, meet as many people as you can that come through the job fair. Because it is an investment that we make in job fairs, and so we want to make sure that we're maximizing that return on investments. Speaking of investments, pop quiz. How much do you think that Dawson invested in job fairs in the year 2017?
Emily, since you were late, go ahead and tell us what you think it was in 2017.
I was thinking around 6,000.
6,000, okay, anyone
Good
higher,
start.
lower?
That's a good guess.
Anyone want
I
to
was gonna
guess?
say 10 before I said that.
10,000.
I don't know if that's in the
Oh.
ballpark
Big
or
number,
not.
big number, right?
Big numbers.
Does anyone want to guess a bigger number?
Trent, no Trent, this is the
Trent
last
knows.
time you did it.
Bigger?
40.
40!
Oh,
Damn, I don't know how much money
Are you
our
really like
marketing
job ads?
budget is, but
Just job fairs.
one of those numbers
Ryan, say go bigger.
is actually 14,013.
Very specific.
So that is, Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about that figure?
Yeah, so obviously a couple of reasons that we want you to know that number. You know, obviously 14 grand is a lot of money. To put that in perspective, that's about 6 weeks. Hello, Louisa. Hola, hola.
Louisa.
Nice to see you. That's about like a 6-week radio campaign. That's so, you know, obviously there's a lot of different ways that we spend our money, but it is a significant investment. And we just want to show you that number, you know, so that you're taking those seriously and thinking about how big of an investment, not only, you know, financially they are for us, but with your time being out the office. When you give us feedback on job fairs, when you go and come back and say, you know, there was no one there that I could work with, or, you know, this was really like a better, you know, if you're in LI and you say this was really a better audience for like IT, you know, we really take that to heart because, you know, some of these job fairs are like $1,500, $2,000 a pop, and we don't want to, you know, we don't want to put that kind of money and waste your time with them if they are not worth it. So.
Excellent. So why do we go to job fairs anyway? I know for some recruiters it can be seen as sort of a burden when you're asked to attend these job fairs that happen in the middle of the day. You might feel like it messes up your operating rhythm, or you might feel like I have these orders to fill, I really don't have time to go to this job fair at Columbus State or at wherever the location is. So we want to be able to illuminate the value behind why you guys should be attending and what you should get out of these job fairs. So the most obvious one is we want you to be able to meet and engage with potential job seekers. So when you're sitting at your desk and recruiting, even when you're responding to applicants, we know that a large pool of applicants are just applying because they have to, because they're receiving unemployment. So don't have the assumption that just because someone is applying to your job that A, they're going to be a good fit, or that they're actually looking for that job, or that that job's going to be the right fit for them. Job seekers that go to a job fair, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. They are actively looking for work. They've gone, taken that extra step to leave the house, put some nice clothes on, prepare their resumes, and go to that job fair. So you should really be seeing that as a concentrated effort of getting more people in front of you, actually having deeper conversations with them than you would emailing or mass mailing job applicants that you see through the web center or that you get through Bullhorn. This is a great opportunity to actually take that to the next level. So this is actually probably a better use of your time often to meet with qualified job seekers. You want to talk about the Dawson brand?
One thing that we're going to be talking a lot about like in this training and down the line here is really how you're talking about the Canada experience, the Dawson difference, and really thinking about being very intentional about the way that you talk to them when they're asking you questions like, how does your process work? Every industry I've ever worked in, we have a whole vernacular of, we do a send out and, the client calls us, all of this stuff. Just be thinking about, like, put yourself kind of in the job seeker's shoes and when you're talking about, how the process works. When you come to us and apply for a job and an employer comes to us because they can't find enough people or, they have a short-term need or whatever, but really kind of, for lack of a better term, dumbing down the language so that you're not using a lot of like industry speak and a lot of jargon that we use. A lot of the stuff that we found out from our candidate focus groups, right, is like made my own argument for me. But even words like candidate, like talking to them and saying like you're a really great candidate for this job, they think that that's way too political and it makes them feel like a commodity. So there's like really weird crutches. Like I know when I worked at a restaurant, you walked up to a table and you're like, "Hi guys, how are you doing?" And it was a crutch, and I always had to like learn, "How are the four of you tonight?" Because there were ladies at the table too, and it was like a debilitating thing at work for a couple of months until I got there. But we're going to be talking a lot about just dumbing that language down and being super friendly and warm. And like if you were explaining to a friend, what you did or how the Dawson process works, really using that kind of language and providing that as the first experience, because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
And also, sometimes at these job fairs, you might be right next to another staffing agency. And so it's really important in that short period of time to communicate why working with Dawson is going to be different than working with any other job agency or staffing agency that's going to be at this job fair. So having a succinct message that you can tell someone, we pre-screen all of our candidates before we send you on an interview. That way, when you get the offer, we can have you start right away. We create talent rooster videos, which is a small video that you can showcase your skills and abilities. And we have some employers that will hire you right off that video. So we are the pipeline to get you into a job quicker than other agencies where you might get the offer, and then they run the background, and then they run the drug test. And now you have 2 weeks before you can even start, right? So these are the things you want to think about. We're family owned, we're focused on Central Ohio. Think about those things that differentiate Dawson when you go to these job fairs, so that way you can get more people engaged with us versus our competitors that are going to be at the same job fair. And finally, this is a great opportunity to generate new sales leads, but I want to put that on you. What do you think we mean by that, and how can you get sales leads from a job fair?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the other people that are there, the other vendors, are companies looking for the same people that we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think sales can go after those same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to be at job fairs where you see companies that are internally hiring, and most of those positions can be positions that we can easily fill, even if it might be in a profession, even if it's not in a division that you personally support. You might see, hey, Cardinal Health was there, and they had all of these IT positions that they're looking for, and we should probably, get Zach and Becky involved in those conversations. Or, hey, there's this small startup here, and they have a whole slew of positions that are available, so let's try to get in front of that. So this is a great opportunity for you to think beyond your role and really think about one of our strategic objectives, which is grow the bottom line, and be able to engage the rest of Dawson with the opportunities they see at these job fairs. Okay. So you did, that's okay. So first impressions don't get a second chance. So people have a lot going on when they go to a job fair, and so you want to make sure that you can captivate them right away. So in order to do this the best way, here's some things you want to keep in mind as you get ready to go to your job fair. First of all, you definitely want to know your audience. Every job fair, some of them might be catered to a certain niche of the market. So you might be going to one that's more accounting and finance, right? So obviously we're going to make sure that we schedule accounting and finance people go there. We might be going to some at high schools where the focus is going to be on the population of students that are not going to go to college and they're going to go directly into a trade. And so we want more maybe light industrial people, more office people there to be able to communicate to them why starting a career might be a better benefit to them than going to college at that time. So you can't just show up to every job fair with the exact same elevator speech, with the exact same pitch about what we do. You really want to understand a bit more about the job fair that you're going to before you go. Speaking of elevator speeches, so at our last quarterly meeting, or DQL, the marketing team rolled out some new branding and some new ways that we want to talk about who Dawson is. So we wanted to ask for volunteers to give your elevator speech when someone asks you, what does Dawson do? Erin, what do you think?
I would say Dawson is a staffing agency here in Central Ohio, focusing on positions all over Columbus. And, we bring you in and talk about your work background and your specific search criteria and try and find you positions that would fulfill those specifics.
That's great. Trent, you want to take a stab at it?
I would say Dawson is a workforce solutions company that places job seekers at the top businesses in Central Ohio. And we've been around for 70 years, so we can get that foot in the door with
72, Trent.
72.
Numbers matter.
72 years, so the relationships we've built is
Beat a kid.
the top.
Excellent.
Trent, why would I apply for a job at Dawson rather than going directly to the company?
Because there's a black hole. No, because Dawson has those connections with our clients, and they trust us, and you can come right to us rather than going online and your application will get lost.
I miss you already, Trent.
So both in some industry research that we have and through our focus groups, it was really fascinating to talk about things like job boards and obviously we use Indeed and those things, but how viscerally negative job seekers view those sites because they think that they're Indeed, they're like, oh, I'm applying, to this weird job that seems like a shady company, and they perceive, Dawson as kind of like our job is to weed through that, and we're working with actual, legitimate companies, but, someone brought up in the training the other day, you apply for a job at L Brands, and you're in their applicant tracking system, and, there's literally 3,000 other people that are up for that job, and you're not getting noticed by a recruiter out there, so that we're kind of that person. So again, it's obviously job seeking is a painful experience for most people, and we're kind of there to make it easier, make it more comfortable, and that's definitely good stuff to use at those. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Trent had mentioned, here's some language that you can use a bit more in your elevator speech that I think might resonate a bit more with the audience. So we're a workforce solutions company. And the reason we say that is because we're beyond just staffing. We have a services arm, we have community workforce programs. So try to gravitate towards the language of workforce solutions so that people have a broader picture of what we do. We work with job seekers to create successful placements with some of the best companies in Central Ohio, Columbus specifically. We also have an HR management solutions arm, which does full life cycle recruiting and management of candidates on site. And we have community workforce programs that engage with different populations of the job seeker market, whether it be high school grads to people going back to school, and just creating new opportunities for your non-traditional job seeker. So it's important to think about these three pillars of our business as we continue to talk about what Dawson does.
I think part of creating a good experience too for, whether it's a job seeker or an employer that comes up and talks to you, obviously there's a lot, like MSP for instance, Erin, if an employer comes up here like we do HR management solutions, like it's totally fine for you to say, we manage, you know, anything that your HR department does, our HR management arm can also do. That's not like the area I work in, that's not my aisle. I'm happy to, you know, give you the phone number of Matt Backwitz or whoever. You know, don't feel like you have to give them all the information. I think it's better to be honest and say, I mean, even if, you know, an accounting and finance person comes up to you, you're like, you know what? I don't deal with these jobs. We have industry specialized recruiters. Our accounting and finance recruiters are gonna be able to talk to you much more intelligibly about what you're looking for. You know, here's Becca's information, you know, and thinking about it that way too.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, knowing your audience is key to every elevator pitch, every elevator speech that you give. And people who've gone through recruiter training with Catherine and I, you know, we talk about big to specific. So who Dawson is, what you do, and why you're talking to them, right? So if you're at a job fair talking to college graduates, you know, I'm Erin, I work in our light industrial division, I focus on warehouse positions, I want to talk to you today about this assembly role that we have at Amazon, right? So it's very the general to specific, so think about that in the context of when you go to these job fairs. But another key thing to take away when you're at these job fairs is you want, as you have their attention, they're standing right there. As Becky said the other day in our class, there's no call, no show with a job fair. They are literally standing right in front of you, where you can make pre-screen appointments all day and they might not show up. That person is right there. So while you have their attention, and if you feel like they're a qualified job seeker, let them know what they can expect from Dawson right there in the moment. So whether it is, when I go back, I'm going to send you an email so you have my contact information. Here's my business card in the meantime. I will follow up with you by the end of the week with this position. We can schedule a time for you to come in, run pre-hire paperwork so that way we can get you in the door as quickly as possible, right? Let them know what those expectations are. Or if it's not something in your specialized field, say, I'm going to connect you with Becca Sheehan. She's our senior accounting and finance recruiter. She's going to be able to help you out a lot better than I can. If you have any referrals, please send them my way. I'd love, you know, for us to help each other out. So make sure you're setting up those expectations and then actually follow through with them, right? You can't just tell somebody that you're going to follow up with them at the end of the week and then come back here and get bogged down by all your other orders that you're working on. You really have to stick to those commitments. Otherwise, we're going to live up to some of our negative reviews, which is they never hear back, they don't know where they are in the process, you know, they apply, but they haven't heard from us since, right? So this is a great opportunity to really show them the Dawson difference.
And it's also a good opportunity, you know, like, hi job seeker, finding a job for you is actually a team sport, and here's what I expect from you as well. You know, if they need to make some updates on their resume, or, you know, I think again, like being completely honest and transparent, I think this is more applicable probably to the professional divisions, but, you know, I'm gonna work really hard to get you a job, but I may not be able to, so use us as a resource, but don't, you know, don't put all your eggs in this proverbial basket, you know, be out there, you know, looking for jobs on your own. If you see something on our job board that interests you, you know, it's your job to communicate to me. I have, you know, I'm working with a lot of different people, so I, you know, will think of you as often as I can, but maybe I can't always, so if there's something that interests you, you know, you have to communicate with me too, kind of setting those expectations that it really is a two-way street, so.
Great point. So what do you guys think of our new job fair display? Anybody have any critical feedback? Is it,
Would you change anything?
no Trent?
If someone walks by and there's a gust of wind, will that top thing fall over?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is
Gust of wind.
I would imagine that, that's been tested.
Okay.
Great question, Trent. Thank you for that.
Um,
Anybody else have any feedback?
Would you change anything?
Yes, Lindy.
The rack cards are a little messy.
They are a little messy. In fact, this whole thing is a little messy, a little unorganized. And when you only have the time it takes for someone to walk by to have their attention, a little bit messy is kind of a lot messy, right? So we've got some tattered brochures. We've got business cards all over the place. There's a business card of someone from a different company in there. The accountability cup, that should be
20% off
there.
coupon at Vistaprint, anybody?
I'll take it, thanks. So, as Ryan likes to say, retail is detail, and this is your chance to really display who we are and what we do. So you want to make sure that you are creating a visual that is not only pertinent to the people that are coming, so again, knowing your audience, bringing brochures that are going to be relevant to them.
Accountability cup, not relevant to a job seeker.
No, they don't even know what that means. You know, career kickstart
Late night.
notepads might not be relevant at like a hacker IT job fair, right? They're probably not gonna be the audience that we wanna be talking about career kickstart to. But if we're going to a high school, we definitely want them to see that collateral. You wanna make sure that you have collateral that has our upgraded tagline, so if it says the power of people or empowering people's lives, we probably don't wanna be showcasing that because those aren't our taglines that we're using anymore.
Don't ask us what one you should be showcasing, because we don't know yet, but we'll let you know very
TBD,
soon.
just the general Dawson logo, we'll do for now. So let's just pretend that we've completely committed to the employment people for the purposes of this class. But you wanna be able to bring things that are relevant and have this display look nice. Also, probably don't give out sunscreen in the winter, they don't need sunscreen in the winter, you know what I mean? They don't need that. Pens are always a good thing to have, people like pens, but sometimes we have really nice collateral, and Becky and I went to one and we raffled those off, or we gave them to like really qualified job seekers, you know what I mean? Yeah, Lisa.
I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
Like, when we were at the job fair and the Latin festival, they were asking for the tuition reimbursement program that we have. But to be honest, I didn't have too much information. Have you guys trying to do a brochure for that as well?
Yeah, we should have sent some of those.
Next time,
Along with
just
the ones with the
because
right
people were
address.
asking us, right, Trent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the kind of brochure that you can explain very quick what we are doing for that. I send them over to this way, to be honest, because in my knowledge, I don't have that much of information, so
Yeah.
I wasn't able to help them out.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, we'll definitely make sure we can do it.
And also, more
More gifts?
gift, yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
some promotions.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
Because anyways, at least if you have something that says Dawson, people can see around, oh, what is Dawson? Let me look Dawson out, so.
Brand awareness, yes,
I know.
absolutely.
Kind of along with the business cards and, you know, getting them the right people, I think one thing in that bag that needs to be, maybe have business cards from each division or professional division, because I know I've always taken the resumes and penciled on who I need to get it to or whatever.
That's a
But I
great
think it
point.
needs to be a two-way street, because, you know, everything gets lost in the shuffle, and I can send it over to them, but if they have that,
Trent turned your last project
There
at
we
Dawson.
go, there we go. That is a great point.
but because we're always, it's all call so-and-so, and here's my card, here's, you know, I'll write the office number on it, or.
Like a binder.
Yeah, something that has,
That's a good idea.
all the different divisions, so
Yeah, no, that is a
give them
great
something
point.
to take away.
So let's talk about the process of when we schedule a job fair, what to expect. So your division manager and marketing will work together to schedule which recruiters are going to be relevant to engage in this job fair. So again, knowing the audience, we're going to ask people to go that we feel are going to be beneficial for the job fair itself. If we go to a general employment one, I think that's a really great idea to try to include other people's business cards in the marketing bag that they will put together for you. So they will pre-assemble everything that you need beforehand, which is really nice, and we're so appreciative for marketing for doing that. But that is a great thing that I don't think that we've thought about before, is including other people's business cards. That job fair will be added to the recruiter's calendar, so please honor that commitment. We always know that things happen in your day, and orders, who knows when the next like large class might drop and you have to drop everything, but these are really important events that we attend. Recruiting is beyond just sitting at your chair and answering applications that come through. It is actually engaging in your community and really helping elevate our brand. We get a much higher return on investment when we have that face-to-face connection. So if this has been added to your calendar, make sure that you're, as Heather said, preparing to be busy, right? So if you know it's going to be a busy day, take the day before to do what you need to do to make sure your operating rhythm's down. Make sure your account managers know that you're going to be out of the office for that period of time, so that way you don't feel like you need to always be on your phone responding to emails, responding to phone calls, and that they can help you honor that commitment of being present at that job fair, and that you can be able to come back and honor the commitment to the people that you've made, the job seekers that you've made when you told them you would follow up with them, that you give yourself time, maybe the next day or at the end of the week, to be able to follow up with those things. So that's just general good practices. So the job fair display we had was obviously kind of messy. I don't believe that anybody is doing that at a job fair. I feel confident that we're putting this together in a really clean way. However, we're not putting it back in a super clean way. And marketing can help out as best as you can, as best as they can. However, it might be your responsibility to put these materials away in the marketing closet if you're at the home office, so please do not just shove the bag in the corner with all the crap in it. That's how we get tattered collateral, that's why we have to throw things away that we could be potentially using again. That's a cost to the company, and it's just not respectful to your colleagues. You know, for somebody else to go in there and clean up your mess, that's not who we are as Dawsonites, right? We make Dawsonites happen. Any questions about before the fair getting ready? So during the fair, obviously, we want you to follow your recruiter expectations and everything that falls under being passionate commitment, all of our core values, we want you to embody at these job fairs. Understand the positions that you're trying to fill. Like, side note, when you guys went to the Latino Festival this weekend, I armed Trent with all of our bilingual on-site manager positions. So I'm like, here we go, here's the population of people that we need to apply for this job. Like, try to find bilingual on-site managers while you're there, right? It wouldn't make sense for us to bring maybe, you know, if you're at an IT job fair, it's not going to make sense to bring all your office positions, right? So be really knowledgeable about what we're filling actively, because when a job seeker comes up, they want to know exactly what they can apply for. So make sure you have that information ready. And then make sure, if you can on the spot, make a schedule for them to come into the office. So everyone has a smartphone. You might be able to pull up your calendar right there and then. If you talk to a really great candidate, make sure that you can say, hey, I'm available tomorrow at 3, can you come into the office then? I'm going to put it in my calendar right now. When I get back to the office, I'll send you more information, right? Get them while they're right in front of you. It's much harder for people to say no and come up with excuses when they're looking you dead in the eye, although they will. And then after, make sure that, again, you're assuming that there's going to be a job fair the next day. Don't leave this material in your car. Don't let collateral lay on top of each other and get tattered. Don't just throw things back into the marketing closet. Be respectful of the next people that are going to have to use that material, and then disperse the job seekers out to the relevant contacts. So again, if you talk to an accounting and finance person, even at the fair, it might be a good idea to separate resumes or information by divisions. That way it's easier for you when you come back to be able to hand that off to Becca or hand that off to Stephanie or Becky Staub, you know, depending on what that job seeker is looking for. So in our last few minutes here, we want to bring Zach up to talk about our community workforce programs, because this is really the large pool of our job fairs in action that we'll especially be seeing this fall. So, Zach, come up here.
Good morning, everybody. Such a great looking group this morning. So to piggyback off of what they said really quickly, I just want to say there's been a number of people that have already been involved in this program, and hopefully throughout the course of this year as we grow, we'll continue to see growing numbers within our company. The workforce program, I hope, as all of you know at this point, is used as a tool to differentiate ourselves as a company from our competitors. So we will be continuing to work with our school districts and universities at different levels to show ourselves and to present ourselves in that fashion. So a couple things that we already have lined up. I believe the 2 DMs that are here are already directly involved. So we're going to be doing some things directly. I will be talking directly to the divisional managers about what we have ahead of us. They will then go to their recruiters to find the best recruiter for that role. And then Taylor and the marketing team will then put that on your guys' calendar specifically. So we don't want to flood your guys' calendars with invites for things that you won't be directly involved with. We will put those directly into this specificity of those who are going to be there working those events. And that will be the process of that. In terms of mock interviews, I know some of you guys have already conducted those. We will continue to reach out. Our school district, it's a big opportunity for us to, again, not necessarily from a monetarily benefit, but more so, again, that differentiating factor, excuse me, to where we have the ability to go in and prove our worth, right? We want to become the experts in this capacity, and we have the ability to do so. So again, that will be the same type of process. I'll be working with school districts to determine what our mock interviews are going to look like, how many recruiters we may need per mock interview. I will go to the DMs and ask their permission if we can bring a recruiter for them with enough advance notice, of course, and have you guys perform those. Those will look different depending on the school district, depending on what they're looking for. So I will give you guys guidelines as best as I can. There may be jobs that students are already interviewing for to be prepared for. I'll give you guys those requirements so you guys are fully prepared there. The biggest thing with, this is not my slide, but the biggest thing with the community workforce program is understanding that this is an opportunity for you guys to benefit as well. And I want recruiters to understand that when you go, similarly to what we're doing here on a normal job fair, right, is to understand that these are potential candidates that you guys can bring in and place. The same way that you can with a traditional student. I understand there have been hiccups, scheduling, class schedule, things like that. So I do understand that. But anytime that you guys have insight, feedback, positive or negative, please let me know. That's the only way we get better. If something's not worth doing, I know you two have been a part of things that haven't necessarily worked out, Lindy as well. We're not doing it anymore, right? So that's absolutely fine, but let's learn and grow and understand those things. The more that I know from your guys' experience, the better I can kind of adjust to what we want to be doing. But I appreciate all your guys' help and continued effort to make this thing blow up the way that we think it's going to. So thank you.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you just briefly go over the criteria for Career Kickstart with school starting? We are seeing about 2 to 3 per week right now.
Individuals, yeah.
Yep.
So with Career Kickstart, we have Columbus State, Franklin University, Ohio Christian, and Ohio Dominican. So any student that's involved in school or taking classes at that university is going to be enrolled in the program. They need to take a minimum of 6 credit hours at the university that they're attending, and need to work a minimum of 20 hours with us a week through a semester. Each semester they then receive $500 tuition reimbursement, and depending on the category, they're going to be a 2-semester commitment. So we are taking students and putting them into, we just actually paid out our first couple, second will be paid out this week, first was last week. $1,000 tuition reimbursement, which is monumental for us.
When you
in this
say
program.
$1,000 tuition reimbursement, are you paying it to the school or are you paying it to the
We
candidate?
pay it to the candidate
Okay.
specifically. It's non-taxed. It's a different line item on their check. Now, we do have Ohio Health individuals that aren't paid through us, so it's a $1,000 check to them. We're hoping that that money is used towards, but you know, if they manage it how they do, but yeah, it'll go directly to the candidate, to the student,
Job seeker.
Job
the
seeker.
student.
Student/job seeker.
And I have heard up to 500, is it 500? is
$500.
The requirements.
$500. Yep, $500 a semester.
But
Again,
after 2.
2-semester commitment, $1,000.
Associate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll go to the associate.
So you say Columbus State, Dominican University, what else?
Ohio Dominican, Ohio Christian, and Franklin University.
We can give you some flyers before you.
I have some extras too, Lisa.
Yeah, we'll make sure that material.
And Louisa, you can have all of your
Oversight.
flyers that have the correct address on them, 'cause they're here. Which was super helpful for you over the weekend.
That's great.
That was my prize, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thank you guys for your efforts and moving this program forward.
So just to conclude, obviously, job fairs are recruiting in action. That's how you really want to think of it. This is not just philanthropic, right? This is part of your job. When we ask you to recruit, this is what comes along with it, and that's why you guys were brought to be here first and foremost. But it is a great opportunity to really get your name out there. You know, you are your own brand under Dawson, so you want people to meet you and engage with you so that way they can remember you better. You remember people's names a lot more when you meet them face to face. So think about how the long-term investment of spending 2 hours of your day engaging with an actively looking, associate pool potentially, versus, making calls and getting pulled away by account managers here. So really think about how that's going to benefit you in the long run. If you have any other questions or feedback about job fairs, we'd be happy to hear it. I know marketing is always open to your constructive feedback. And yeah, any other questions while we're still here?
How would you suggest handling when somebody comes up to you and is like, I had a very negative experience with Dawson, or like, why so-and-so is my recruiter, I haven't heard from them. How would you suggest dealing with the moment?
Especially at the Latino Festival, we got a lot of people that came up to us and said like they were felons, right? And then how do you like go on? And they're like in your
Right.
face about it.
That's a great question.
And,
So,
and one of them, he was so rude. Do you
Yeah,
remember the
yeah.
lady? The lady was like, oh, but you know that we need a second chance.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, we understand that, but that is our policy right now.
Yeah,
We are
so-
working on that.
The same, there's a lot of like parallels I feel to like the restaurant industry and then also recruiting, especially in instance. If you have someone like that, you definitely want to pull them aside. You don't want them to be the focal point of the booth, right? You want to try to, hey, let's step over here. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more. You want to keep the high road. You want to keep a professional attitude the entire time, no matter how much mud they're slinging your way. You want to, it sounds like you handled it pretty well by saying like, we work with, the reason that companies choose to work with Dawson is because we do this pre-hire paperwork up front and we manage all these hiring compliance issues. And so it's not necessarily just Dawson's policy, but it's the reason why companies work with us. And I know there's a lot of other opportunities in the Columbus area that might be able to give you a second chance. And once, that time period lapses where these things aren't gonna come up on your background, Dawson would love to engage with you, but for the meantime, unfortunately, if you're unable to pass these background checks, I don't think that there's a company we work with that will be able to support you. And, please, we can still offer you career advice if you want. We always want to be a resource to these candidates, right? It's not, they are obviously the ones that are paying our paychecks, but you don't want to just throw out someone that has that experience. Go above and beyond and say, I'd be happy to look over your resume if you want. I don't know if I'll be able to place you with Dawson specifically, but if you need advice, I'd be happy. And we have these other workforce programs. We're partnered with other areas that maybe you can start out with, or, just offer them just another solution than just saying, sorry, we can't work with you, goodbye.
I also think that, this, Trent, you could use the intern line, I think that, not to blame, but I mean, to level with the person in that moment, like, I totally understand your frustration, and I wish it was different. Unfortunately, it's that I just work here, Unfortunately, I'm not the one who makes those decisions. I'm happy to pass that feedback along, to my managers, and we're reviewing this stuff all the time. But unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. Totally understand your concern.
Well, to answer
Wish you good luck.
Taylor's question, if somebody comes up that hasn't been contacted by their recruiter, do the same thing, pull them aside. We don't want that to be the focal point, but explain that it was an oversight, it's on us, just eat the sandwich, but follow up with that recruiter. We want to definitely, anybody who slips through the cracks we don't want that, so
You can just
definitely be
say,
following up with that. Take them over as your job seeker.
It's like, look, I don't necessarily know. I don't know exactly what happened. Let me take your information. I'm going to go to the office. I'll look at our system. I'll talk with the recruiter. I'll talk with the recruiter's manager. We want to make this right. I'll find out what happened. Take ownership of the situation.
But remember, busy is never an excuse. So
The
your
goal.
excuse should never be, we've just been so overwhelmed, we've been so busy, we just can't keep up. That's absolutely not the message we want to send. We want to thank them for coming to the job fair. Thank you for continuing to show interest in Dawson. Why don't I follow up with you personally when I get back to the office, right? Elevate that candidate, job seeker experience, right?
People.
Excellent.
The people
The
experience.
people. So I know we went a little over your time, so I really appreciate it, especially our LI people for making the trek out here. So if you have any other questions in the meantime, please let us know. And everyone have a great day.
Go.